Welcome to the podcast. I'm Carrie Fitts, broker and owner of Carrie Fitts Real Estate here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Today, I'm excited to welcome a very special guest, Sarah Ellison. She is a new agent in this office, and she is going to be talking about her journey from getting her license at just 19 years of age as a full-time college student to finding her place here at Carrie Fitts Real Estate. It's a story about courage and growth and the power of community in helping us reach our goals. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today, and tell us a little bit about how you ended up here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get to be on the podcast, and it's such a full circle moment because I remember listening to your podcast and then getting to come in for an interview. But I had always been set on being a real estate agent. You know, when my family moved in 2020, I really just fell in love with the process, and I knew, I want to get it as young as I possibly can. So I set out to get it at 19, and I took this state exam just 2 months after my birthday and found myself at Carrie's brokerage, and it has been great ever since. It's marking 6 months since I joined.
That's right, and we love having you here. It's great to have a young, fresh perspective on what's going on. She's got a completely different sphere. She is in a sorority at Alabama, a full-time college student. All of that takes a lot of time. And she's selling real estate, and she's already had 2 closings?
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Of course. I'm excited to get to talk about these, and I'm so thankful for my clients, obviously, that worked alongside me. But I had met both of them actually over the summer and just consistently followed up with them. And through that process, we were able to find a property for them. But the biggest thing I definitely learned, and Carrie has mentioned this to us time and time again, is patience. Taking a step back and realizing it's about getting our buyer from point A to point B, no matter the time frame on that. So it was great to get to work alongside, and it honestly, closing day was even more sentimental because we kind of got to reflect and see, how everything ended up falling into place.
Mm-hmm. It was both of them were really great closings, and it really does show the persistence that you need in real estate to follow up. Follow up is huge in real estate, and being very intentional. The structure that Sarah brought to both of those deals with the follow-up, being so intentional. We want everybody, buyers and sellers, to feel seen and heard and supported. Sarah did that job, and she did it really, really well. And her clients were older than she is, and they trusted her because she's a smart girl, obviously, has a lot of energy, and spent a lot of time with those clients and really did an excellent job, and working on another offer right now for an not just out of state, but out of country.
Yes, we are
buyer, which is exciting. And she's really starting to hone those negotiation skills and really putting those to work in this deal. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like for you.
Yeah, I would say, like Carrie said, I really focused on follow-ups and kind of following through. But now another thing that I'm really looking to better myself at is negotiation. And that's something we had a conversation about today, is how can we really represent our clients in the best way possible? Because I'm local in Tuscaloosa. I'm here and know the market better than an out of country or even out of state. And it's really just about getting the best deal for them, because that's what's most important to us. It's not just a closing, it's so much more, and we want to make sure that they, are set up the best way possible.
That's right, because it's about them. It's not about us. It's not about our time frame. It's completely and totally about getting the buyer or the seller where they want to be. And that can take a lot of different directions. And I'm always talking to our agents about how important it is to listen. Sometimes agents tend to talk more than they listen. And the way that you really figure out pretty quickly what is motivating that buyer or seller is just to stop talking sometimes and listen. And they'll tell you what that is. So the consistency and building the relationships that she did with these clients really got her and them from point A to where they wanted to be. She was a great example of persistence and follow through. And those really are two really big values here. So share with us a little bit more about what those 6 months between getting your license and closing your first deal, what did they look like? What did you do? Because there are agents that go years without, getting a license and go years without handling a contract of any kind. So what did you do?
So I stayed in Tuscaloosa over the summer, which it was a little hard at first because I did want to be back in Birmingham with some of my hometown friends, but I knew I wanted to be present in the area and getting to go to showings. So that's exactly what I did. I drove around to as many showings as I could and taking every lead that, was put in front of me. And through that process is where I learned really how to show a property, but it also taught me just the importance of showing up every day, because it gets discouraging after sometimes if you're like, I'm not seeing, results. Is this time that I'm putting in, is it going to be worth it? And, that's just where I think I became a stronger agent, because I began to realize, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's right.
This is a huge process. And although I haven't got to experience home ownership for myself, that is definitely on my goals. And I'm excited for that day, because now I'm like, I'll have a little bit more of an idea of going into it. But
sure.
I feel like I experienced similar doubts that first-time homeowners probably experience, because I'm thinking, is this going to work out? Is this going to be worth it? I'm giving up my time at home. What is my opportunity cost here? And that was kind of a big leap of faith. And, working with my buyers, especially those first-time buyers, I see they're having to take a huge leap of faith too.
That's right.
And it can be scary, but that's what we're here for, is, helping you kind of take that. And that's what this brokerage was for me, was backing me, when I did get discouraged, getting to talk with Carrie and, hearing from you that you went through similar things at the beginning of your career and how you pushed through and now have built such an incredible brokerage.
Well, I appreciate it. And so you've had this success. What are you doing a little differently? How are you focusing your time? What have you learned from those first two? Because we're in the fourth quarter of the year, and we've got a few more months left before we close out this year, a couple of months. So what does that look like for you?
I think the biggest thing I'm working on right now is being intentional and making sure I, use my time responsibly, because like you said, I'm in school right now. So it's hard to find a balance of being a full-time student and wanting to stay involved in my sorority and, still enjoy time with my friends and learning how to prioritize and time block, especially in a job like this where you don't have set hours. So that's when I really learned is when and how to prioritize to the best of my abilities. So for me, what I've really learned has worked for me is following up, and being very intentional when I do showings and intentional for open houses. We had a great open house on Carrie's old office on 8th Street a couple weekends ago during the Tennessee game, and I was very intentional about how I marketed that, how I decorated for that. We had subs from Subs and You, because we knew locals would recognize that name and maybe stop in, and that one I was able to generate a significant amount of leads from, and that's when I learned, okay, this is key right now, is
that's right.
Being
we don't do
intentional.
things to check a box.
Yeah.
We do things for reasons, and whatever it is that you choose to do, your time is valuable, and you need to be all in, whatever that looks like. And she saw it firsthand, what a difference it makes from just opening a house for an open house and really marketing it ahead of time, getting prepared, and the difference it made in who showed up. and how that went. So it's always great to hear from agents, especially someone who is 19 years old and has already had 2 closings. But I really appreciate Sarah taking the time, because she has so little of it, to come here and share her story and remind us why connection and community matter so much in this business. So to our listeners, whether you're just starting out or you're years into your real estate career, surround yourself with people who believe in your growth. That's what we strive for here every day at Carrie Fitts Real Estate. So today, that's it. Thanks for listening, and as always, carry on.